We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Hello and welcome to IB Determined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey, and I speak from the role of a patient and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm your other host, Michelle Harvey. I am Mason's mom, and I also speak in the role of a caregiver on this podcast. And this is our second take. We had our mouse did not end up not working. And so we had to go find another mouse, and we are now going to try this again. So this is take two. You guys missed the first take one, but we are back again and hoping we have better luck. Yeah. And always remember to check before you start filming that everything is charged.
Remember to use a mouse that uses batteries and not a charging cord.
That you can't find.
Yes.
But we're all good now. So we are here.
So far.
And I want to bring up before we launch into what we're going to talk about today, because today's a big date, beginning of season 4, episode 1. And so we're excited to be back for our 4th season here with IB Determined. And
very different too. Very different than usual.
I want to mention Mason because a week ago he was at the San Diego Convention Center and he was getting an award from the American Society of Colon and Rectal Surgeons. They chose him as their local hero. So they have a scientific convention and they meet up annually. This is a big thing. And they chose San Diego this year. So
yeah, we got to go. We didn't have to fly anywhere, but we just got to go to drive down to convention center. Yeah. And it was a very nice place. The place where my video was playing, and I accepted the award where we go up on stage. It was this massive room full of easily over...
It's 2,500 surgeons that were attending. So it could have been 2,500 chairs. I don't...
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Not all of them were there at the same time.
No.
But it could have been that many chairs. So it was a very big room. And it was a very fancy place. They had music.
So they played a video. They had it was like a 7-minute, 6-minute video.
It was a lot longer than we expected.
Yeah, it was cool though. It was really exciting. And so they're
very cool.
All Mason had to do was walk up on stage, shake hands, take a picture, and that was it.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was, he went through, he was nominated. He went through an interview process. He was selected. And
yeah, to be honored by them, to get an award from them, to shake hands with them,
right?
To be able to see them in person,
right?
That's all a big deal.
And we
to see them in person and not be getting surgery,
that's an even bigger deal.
Yeah,
so, yeah, that is. And a couple days later, this week we had our friend Dr. Wu, who's a surgeon for Kaiser. He actually stopped by our house, and he's now a friend of ours, but he has a foundation, Healing Little Heroes, and they cosplay. And they go to the hospital, and they do these appearances to help kids heal and to bring them some happiness and some joy.
It's really cool.
And so he stopped by to congratulate Mason on his school and graduating, and we'll talk about in another episode. But he stopped by. He brought a check for Take Steps to donate.
You for donating to Take Steps.
Amazing.
Thank you. We need more donations.
And then he let us know just how prestigious this award was. He was like, "Do you
understand?"
Realize? And I was like, "I guess so." But I just hope Mason sometimes he's had the good fortune on receiving so many kind acts and so many well-deserved honors for what he's done in the IBD community. But I think sometimes it's like you have to take a step back and really go, wow, look take a look at this and really soak in the experience and really, realize how amazing it is. So anyways, that was really cool.
That was a really cool thing that happened last week.
It was. And
very cool.
Now we're going to talk about something else that happened a few days before that arrived in the mail. And so Denmark may give you a clue. If you follow us on Instagram or me personally on Facebook,
know where this is going.
You may know where we're going. And so we are going to be talking about Lego today. And do you want to, Mason pointed this out before we started.
So we have a little note. You don't say Legos. You're not
Right.
supposed to say Legos
So the
till you say
term is
Lego.
just Lego
Mhm.
or Lego
Just
bricks.
want to build a Lego? Not, do
Yeah.
you want to build Legos?
But I
You don't
know
say that.
on several
Mhm.
occasions I will say, "Oh,
Yes.
Mason loves Legos.
Yes, and we
He
actually say
likes to
that. So
play."
if we say that accidentally, it's out of habit. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but we'll try to remember it's
So
Lego and Lego bricks, not
right.
Legos.
Yeah. So the company's not called Legos. And I think
No,
a lot of people refer to them as Legos because usually we think we're not talking about one Lego brick. So
no,
we refer to them as Legos,
Legos.
but it's literally
Legos, my
Lego.
Legos.
Lego or Lego bricks. So
Mhm, it is.
we're going to try to make sure we get this correct
Hmm.
because we know, but it's just
It's just, hard to get
habit.
rid of habit.
And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people do that. So,
Sure, people can sympathize with this.
I think
Hopefully.
the important thing is with today that I hope you guys also take away is not just, you're going to learn about what happened and what was so cool, but Lego therapy. I think that
Oh, definitely.
realizing the power of Lego and
The power of Lego.
it
That's what's funny right
is.
there, but it's true.
It's true.
Hmm.
It's true. And realizing maybe, how you can help your as a caregiver, how you can use these to help your child or
Hmm.
someone you take care of. And as
So you
a
take care of,
patient,
yeah.
maybe you can, and this is not just for kids.
No.
Okay, this is adults too. And I'll share a little bit of my experience as a caregiver with these two. So this is for everybody today.
Oh, it's for everyone. It's not for. No,
Mhm.
no, no. It's about to say it's not for kids. No, it's not just for kids. It's not just for adults.
Mhm.
It's for everybody because
Right.
who doesn't like a good
So
Lego?
be open-minded. And we're going to start off with talking to you about Mason's
What you
Lego
just said that
story.
was very accurate. Keep your mind open. That's what Lego is about, being creative.
That
Hmm.
is. And so we're going to go more into Lego, the actual science behind Lego therapy and how it's used in social development programs at the end of this. So let's start off first of all. And I think it's important to go back to hospital stays.
Hmm.
For some of you, it may even be when you're home recovering or you're in a flare. And I think this story is important, but for us, so Lego was a part of Mason's
Oh,
life
definitely, definitely.
forever, which I'm sure a lot of you
Yeah.
out there, I mean,
Since I was, I don't know,
I don't,
rough
yeah,
estimate, 5.
yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
around that.
Maybe it's when
Maybe
you
even
really,
earlier.
maybe when you remember getting into
We
them.
might get
We've
into it.
always had Lego around,
Yes,
and
but that's when I really started getting into them.
yeah,
So we would go to the mall with my grandma, and I either get Hot Wheels, because they're
oh
they're
yeah,
$1 at Target. But it was always a really special day when I would get to choose a Lego because whether it was a big one or it was a small one, I got to know that when I went home, you get to look at the Hot Wheels cool. Now you can either make it collectible, keep it in the
hmm
box, or you can use it on your new track, whatever. But with a Lego, you get to build it and you get to see the final product when it's done,
right,
which makes you want to build it faster. And it makes you think, and it's the fun kind of thinking where it's not like, oh, great, I don't like this. It's overcomplicated. It's more fun thinking, where you're able to enjoy it.
yeah.
And, yeah.
I think what is really cool, like what you said, Joe, when you're younger, is
Hmm.
like they had the Lego City,
Oh,
like they
yes,
had
yes. It
different
had all the
themes.
different sets, and they all went together.
So it was like, oh, I want to get this for it. I want to get this. And so he was always adding or, whatever came out. It was always really cool, clever stuff.
Hmm.
And I mean, when I was younger, I also would I would also use like the Lego bricks to build anything, but it was just a box. We would get a box of Lego bricks and we would assemble whatever we could think of.
Yeah,
But
just
these
build.
kits like that they have now
They're
are
insane.
are
The
awesome.
complexity. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so cool.
And there's still stuff to be learned because you're still following instructions, learning how to create something. So it's like a puzzle. You're putting something together. So Lego was always a part of
Yeah.
Mason's growing up, it was
Yeah,
part
it
of
was always
mine,
really fun, but
part of your
yeah,
dad's.
part of my dad's. Yeah,
And the Lego when Mason went to the hospital,
that's when it just
I
became
think that's
a
when it
big
really
deal.
kicked in. And you had so many Legos. Like people were
The nurses would come and they're being like, "Oh my
Yes.
God,"
We would have like 10 different doctors, students, medical students, they would come in the morning, this huge
Hmm.
group,
Yeah,
and they would all, they try to fill as many as they could in the room, and then there'd be people out the door, and everyone trying to see what
all
did
the different
Mason
Legos. What did
make,
I make today?
what was going to be the new thing for today. And we had Uh,
A
they
ton.
were all over the room, decorating the room.
It was
It
so
was,
cool, you know?
yeah, but I think that was so important to kind of have that to not normalize, but
But it made the room feel more like mine because I
right.
built what was in it.
Right.
It wasn't,
And I think that's important. It made it feel more like your
your
room
own.
instead of feeling, because like you're in the hospital, you're not at home, you're not in your own room. And so anything you can do to make it feel more of like a space you're comfortable in and something you feel safe in. And so I think having the Lego creation surrounding
It
that was
was very
a
comforting.
big deal.
I have a really funny memory.
Mm-hmm.
I got a Lego train. I don't know if you know what the Lego trains are, but they're little like remote controlled trains that are on rails, obviously. But you build the entire train, you put it on the rails, you build the tracks however you want it. They can go in
Mm-hmm.
loops or little circuit, whatever you want it to be. But I remember that I got Jenga bricks from somebody,
Yeah.
and I made a little wall on the train tracks. And then my dad got his iPad, and the doctors were all watching because I was about to drive the train through the wall, and it was gonna be a cinematic explosion because the iPad's in slow mo.
Right.
And everyone thought
Right.
that was cool, but that's a funny little memory I have. But
Yeah.
I still remember it's a really funny memory because they're like, "Oh my God, here it goes!"
Yeah, they were very excited because
Mhm,
Mason let them all know he was going, he had created a scene and
mhm.
he had it already. And
Cinematic movie
it was a
moment.
big moment. They all did enjoy it.
They
They
did.
really did. And so I think it was special for you because it was actually kind of neat because I feel like in a way it made the doctors
It
less,
helped. It made the doctors less, well, they're still professional, but less clinical. And
yeah,
it made you see more of their personality because it's not
yes,
like, okay, so what we're going to talk about today, obviously, because they still do that. But the first thing they do when they walk in is they're going, wow, did you build all these? It's like, yeah, I built all
right.
these. Yeah, and, it gives them something to bond with. And I think
Yes,
that's cool. It allows you to talk to
yeah,
them and not talk to them about, well, you're going to be doing an MRI tomorrow. Great.
right.
Now it allows you to get on.
And to talk about
Yeah.
how you're the bad like I guess we
Mhm.
call it the bad stuff where you get to the clinical stuff, the difficult things, the procedures, talking about stuff. And so
It feels more comfortable.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that it is always interesting when you can see not like kind of like what Mason was saying, like you see the child side of somebody. You see
Mhm.
that youth come out that
Where
is
they're
like
like, "Oh, that's so cool!
so
It's a Lego! Oh my
excited.
God, this is
Yeah.
cool!" It's like
Yeah.
you
And
were a kid once.
right. And so I think when you have that connection with a doctor, it is definitely important for for the patient and for the doctor.
Mhm.
I think that's something you can almost build trust. You can build confidence in each other. So I think there's also that aspect of the Lego is as well. And the other aspect of it is I think when you are facing reality that's really difficult sometimes. There's
Mhm.
everybody can understand this whether you're in the hospital or not, but
Yeah.
and sometimes it's nice like how do you escape? How do
I
you
escaped
quiet your
reality by
mind?
living in a city of bricks.
And so, right. And literally, you open it up and you're so focused on,
Mhm.
okay, let's see, where's this one? Where's this? And you're focusing on what you're building and you're
Yeah.
excited. And for those few moments, you're not
It's
feeling like
you're in
you're in the
another
hospital.
you're in a brick world.
Mhm.
You're not in the hospital, you're building these cars or buildings or trains or tractors, cranes, I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you're building it and you hear that satisfying click whenever you snap it down.
And I think from a caregiver perspective, I it was nice for me to see him have something that he could get so excited about. He'd receive a box, they bring
Mhm.
one up, look what was sent for you. And
It's so cool. What
um
are we getting next? Yeah.
yeah, and people call and ask, what is he into? What doesn't he have? Because that was
Mhm.
the other thing,
Oh
like,
yeah, what don't I have?
what does
With
he not
Lego.
have there? We don't want to get they don't want to get repeats.
It
And
was really fun when we were leaving the hospital. So we went there with a few suitcases. We didn't expect to be staying there for 2 months. And now you got how many Legos that you're trying to fit in the dang
right,
car?
we had to bring help
Mhm.
because
My
our
grandma and grandpa had to they had to come over in their truck,
right.
and they had to
Because
get
we
all the
were trying
Legos.
the key was it was like, okay, we didn't have time. Once they told us he was going home, it's not like you have time to prepare. We found
Mm-mm.
out the day that he
Of.
was going home, like literally that's when he was going home. And so we had to figure out how do we transport all these without them falling apart and losing stuff because we won't know
What it
in a
belongs to.
car, like what happens if a Lego piece disappears. And
Mhm.
the main thing that that's important here is how helpful Lego can be in helping anybody who's going through something and help you kind of escape. And I think that any of you listening, if you know someone who's going through something, if you're an adult, get a Lego set.
Yeah.
Like,
I
no
it.
joke. And I mean, I put some together. I helped him. I did the VW van.
Oh yes, I remember that.
I think I was working on that, and yeah,
Mhm.
it was difficult days for me too. So it was something I was like, oh,
Should be able to
I
do.
looked forward to it. And so I
Yeah,
was like, these
it's
are
very cool.
great.
We love Legos
Yeah,
now.
so they're good for anybody. And it really is something where you can lock in and you can escape for a little bit and just not worry, not think
Do you
about
like Ferrari
certain
cars? Do
things.
you like Ford? Do you like
Yeah,
the Empire
that's the
State
cool
Building?
thing. There's something
Yeah.
for everybody.
Maybe cars aren't your thing. They have the Empire State Building, they can build. They have the big one, they have the small one, they have the Concorde.
We have Legos decorating our
Yeah.
entire house. So now, talking about the importance of Lego and how they can be so helpful.
Mhm.
The next thing that was really cool that happened is there had been an article, I think it was like 2022, and it had mentioned how Lego was coming out with a Lego MRI. And at first I thought this was, there's AI stuff.
Yeah, oh my God, it's AI.
And
Why would Lego create an
like
MRI,
I
bro?
was like, this isn't. And so, eventually I read the article and it was legit. It was not
It
somebody who
wasn't
created an
AI.
AI
Yeah.
thing. The Lego MRI was a concept between, I believe it was a few doctors. They worked
Mhm.
with a developer at
At
Lego,
Lego. Hmm.
and they came up with something that would help pediatric patients who are going to have MRIs. And, this was not something we didn't ever see one of these. Mason had his MRIs.
No.
And our hospital doesn't have one of these. So
Nope.
we never saw a Lego MRI before, but we did agree this would have been
Very
amazing.
cool.
If they had walked into Mason's room, if there had been a doctor that or radiologist who's doing the MRI, if you're going in there and they sat down before and they said and they walked you through the process with
Yeah, and I
Lego
already love
characters,
Legos,
right?
so.
That feeling, that would have been really helpful. So we agreed that that would have been something super helpful. So saw the article, thought that's amazing, and then didn't really think too much more on it till about January of this year. And my sister had found an article. This was on the Lego MRI, and she
Mhm.
hadn't seen it yet. And she's like, "Have you seen this?" And I
I
was
was like,
like, "Oh my gosh,
oh,
yeah."
yes, I have.
That was a really cool thing. And so then we were like, it would be cool to find, let's see who created this. And
Who
like I want to
created?
try to find
Who
his
was the madman who created this
and his
amazing
name is
Lego MRI?
Eric.
Mm-hmm.
And his last name harder to pronounce, but if I'll put that in the comments, but his first name is Eric. And so we decided to just send a thank you to
Yeah, for what he
Lego.
did,
Mhm.
send him a buck too.
You can't. It's not like you can look up Eric at Lego
No,
and be
no,
like, "Hey, Eric."
you have to send it to Lego.
So you just send it to Lego, their customer
Mhm.
service, and we were like, "Thank you, for creating this. This is not something we never got to see it, so no, but this is something we can say you guys were amazing for doing, and thank you for acknowledging this community that there's difficulties in the medical community for kids and adults too,
And adults,
honestly.
kids and adults.
But that was such a great idea, and so we sent that. And we asked if they could, somehow let Eric know, and I didn't think, you send it to the Lego website. You're like, maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't.
Yeah,
But then
well, it'll get there. You gotta hope it will get there. Yeah,
we
then
heard
we heard back.
we
Yeah.
heard back, and they were like, "We're gonna send your message to Eric."
I'm like, oh, great.
I
Now
was
we know
like,
it's gonna get to him.
yeah, so I was like, for sure it's gonna get to him. Thank you so much for doing that. And again, didn't think much on it. Then we got an email from
Eric, the one and only Eric.
I mean, this says a lot about not only Lego but Eric, the
Yeah.
character of these
Lego
people.
cared enough to send it to him and tell us that we're gonna send it to him, and then Eric cared enough to respond.
Yeah. And he was really kind,
Oh yes, definitely.
very, very cool person. And so we offered to send him one of Mason's books.
Yeah.
Mason's book has an MRI drawing
The one
in it. The one,
right
yeah. I'm
there.
like,
Yeah, our camera's a little bit inverse, so it's a little bit
right there.
confusing.
Yeah. And so we offered to send a book to him. And he was like, sure.
Yes.
But under one condition, I can send you guys a Lego MRI. Okay. Yeah. I didn't even know they actually had any more
They didn't
Lego.
even think they still had it.
No, I didn't know that these were something that still existed.
Because how many were there?
So what we found out
Mhm.
was they had created, it said 600 of
Only
these
600, and
worldwide
yeah,
that were sent to hospitals that
Hospitals.
had to, I believe they applied. Not all hospitals got these. These
no,
were
not all
donated.
hospitals. Our Brady Jones Hospital doesn't have one.
Yeah, and I was reading, on the site because I'm able to do that now since we have one. I was reading about this, and they had made a deal like when you do receive these, you cannot resell these.
Because they're so special.
And so it was like, we're going to have one. Like, that's amazing.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we got it. And you want to show them the box?
This is the box. It's
Yeah.
gonna go over here.
That's the Lego MRI.
And so we have all these different little minifigure assortments.
And their heads turn.
Yeah.
So
This kid has a sad face.
with tears.
Yeah, with tears.
Legit
The
tears.
mom has another sad face.
Worried. I would
worried
say
face. More
worried.
worried face, yes.
Yeah.
The dad does not have a second face.
The dad is
has a good poker face.
Oh,
We don't know what's
says-
going on with that.
And we haven't got to that guy yet.
No,
we're not to that.
These guys, we don't know about them. These guys are mysterious.
Right.
But the dad is a very good poker face.
But yeah, so we're putting it together right now, and we've gone through 3 bags, I think.
Yeah, 3 bags so far.
So we'll show you guys on the next podcast. We will show you guys the completed version of this. Yeah.
This is a very cool box too. If you can't tell, it's a little bit different because usually Lego boxes are like normal ones are more like rectangles, not squares. So it's a pretty cool little box.
Yeah. So they only, like I said, we donated 600 of these. And so my next question was like, we got this.
601.
I was like, Mason, is this going to arrive assembled or disassembled?
Oh, yeah. Is there going to be a book?
I'm like, I hope there's like a book or maybe there's like some papers or something in there. I didn't think, no, they made this professional. This is not, you would not know that this was something. For
only 600, they went through the entire process.
Right. A nice booklet, just like you would purchase straight from one of their stores.
Yeah, like the one they'd make. Thousands of, you know,
and easy to understand and follow. It wasn't like they didn't cheap out on anything.
No, they did not cheap out. In fact, these instructions are almost identical to normal, if not a little better. Oh. So
their idea was to involve Lego Play and to help kids before they get the MRI. And because sometimes they have to go, like they mentioned on their website when you look it up about this, they have a special site that walks you through how to use these and how to teach, which is also really cool, guys. Yeah. So they don't just send the Lego MRI; they have a whole program to help teach you at radiology or at the hospital how to talk about this and how to use it. And so that is really cool. One of the things they mentioned is that some of the kids, they have to use like anesthesia or drugs to help them through these MRIs. And this kind of thing is they're hoping this will help them just see how it works. Understand it is going to be noisy.
Yeah, it is going to be noisy. Now, that's the one thing Lego can't replicate.
No, the noise.
No, they can't replicate the noise. This one right here. But it shows that the MRI actually splits in half. So you can actually see what's inside the MRI. Right. And it has a piece in it where the magnet goes around. Right. And so this is the source of the noise. The machine is not going to explode. The sound is just this magnet going around and then the thing sliding and moving you around so it can get a good picture.
They can really show you what to expect and then kind of let you know what you're hearing is this mechanism in here.
You're hearing. It's not,
and so as long as you can just stay calm and just keep yourself, still, I think it's a big help. And so in the crazy timing is when all this, like I said, this started a few months ago. It took a couple months for us to get here and get this MRI. And at the time, an MRI wasn't really in Mason's future. And now it is. And all of a sudden.
Yay! Well, wait, hang on. We actually did know that an MRI was in our future because it was being sent to us.
Yeah. But even when, I think at that point.
No, we didn't know that.
We didn't know. No. And so I was able to tell Eric, well, thank you for saying this. And the timing couldn't be more perfect because Mason does have to go in for an MRI. So this is something, so as we're building it and hopefully we'll get to
understand it more. So now when I hear that sound, I will be thinking, who's jackhammering this machine?
Gosh, I know.
It actually does sound like a jackhammer too.
Right. They let me in the rooms with him, so I got to be there with him, but I had to sit on the side. But it is definitely an experience. And so
wear headphones if you don't like loud noise.
So this is something that I think is a huge step in helping kids.
What is so cool is that Lego, care enough to help kids understand these machines. Right. And then they made these,
And then donated them.
Yeah.
So thank you, Lego.
Yes, thank you, Lego.
And I know that there's even a friend of ours who pointed out they had a stoma. So one of them had like a bag for one of their characters, and her daughter had just had that procedure, and so that was something that stood out to her. That's cool. That Lego had thought of, to create something like that. And so I think anytime you can just kind of make things normal and make things like part of a play set, part of regular like life, and you don't have to have these things to understand or enjoy them either. Like if without having MRI, this would be a neat thing just to put together and
Yeah,
see
it would
how it
be.
works.
Just to see how it works. Yeah.
And so this it's incredible in that sense. But I think that Lego play and incorporating that into treatments, this could be something. They are working on something else. He mentioned to us. I'm not going to mention it on here.
Lego endoscopy and
No, that was not. We did suggest. I'm like, if you can think of a fun way.
Oh, that'd be so wrong, though. You cannot be. Hey, they're gonna show the kid when they go in. So
like,
this is how it works.
There's some cases where I think it's actually far worse to explain the process. And I think a colonoscopy.
The best thing is with the colonoscopy, we're just gonna put you to
Remember
sleep
they
for a
told you
little bit.
it's
You're
like
gonna go to sleep.
it's like a camera on a noodle, and you're like,
oh.
what? And so I think sometimes
It's better just to not explain things.
But I did tell him, I did say, would be cool if you could build like a digestive system, like, build something, like do different things like that. But they are working on something else. And like I said, I'm not going to talk about it on here because I don't, I'll let them, if they decide to do that, they can announce it or whatever. But they are kind of staying focused on finding ways to help kids cope with different things and different procedures. So very cool. Well, Mason was gifted something incredible, and we are putting together. So when we're done with this podcast, actually, we're going to be doing one of Mason's baking projects for his class. We're going to make some brioche bread.
Let's go.
And so, we're going to be doing that.
And make some burgers.
Yes. And then we are going to, while the bread is rising, because that takes like an hour for the first one, we're going to put together
Lego bricks, not Legos.
We're going to work on
we're going to probably watch some show about that, probably how to make Pringles.
Right, I know what we watched.
That's what we watched yesterday. It was actually pretty entertaining.
But then we also watched Park Pass.
Oh yes, Provost Park Pass. He's such a good YouTuber.
Yeah, so we watched their they were at this is fun.
Oh yes, this is hilarious.
They were at Legoland.
They were at Legoland, and they Provost really only goes to Disneyland or like Walt Disney World
and all over the world now. They've been doing these amazing trips.
Yeah, but it's usually only Disney. But they went to Legoland when we were building this Lego.
So this just all happened, and they're at Legoland, which is like 15 minutes from our house, by the way, guys. We live super close to Legoland. We didn't get to
see Provost. We missed out.
I know. That would have been awesome to see the whole family there. Cool. So anyways, they happened to be there. But that's what we were watching yesterday. We try, like I said, it's a good way to relax and take your mind off things. And he has been so busy. I've been so busy, and so. Yesterday was really nice to just sit down and just build the Legos and just kind of
Design 201 done for college. If you want to take Design 101 in Miracles of College, if you can. Very good. Design 201
It's an online class. So
I loved it. Other people thought it was a little challenging, but I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
If you're used to AutoCAD, you're definitely going to love it.
I feel like that goes with the Lego theme pretty well.
Actually, because you're building. I love building things. That does make sense.
Yeah.
And we're about to finish computer science too. I only have one more assignment. That's unit deliverable 4.
Yeah, you're almost done.
Basically, we're pretty much done, which is nice because usually I have a bunch of things due today and tomorrow. But
it was kind of nice. It was like
to learn how Pringles are made.
Right. It was super healthy subject. Pringles. Yeah.
Well,
but
actually, Pringles were created
I mean,
to be a healthier chip compared to others because there's less oil in them.
That makes us feel better, and they are so good. So Pringles are so good.
You should let us know in the comments what flavor is your favorite if you
Pringles. Let us know.
Yes.
Yeah. So with that said, so now we're going to kind of segue into the end of this, which is I just want to mention it because it was very interesting to me that I just Googled this because I was like, do they actually have Lego therapy? Because I can see where it would be a great idea. I think a lot of hospitals should incorporate this and maybe ask for, if you're going to donate something, I think a Lego would be a great donation to a hospital. And I mean, I could see us, it'd be kind of cool to do a Lego drive.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And give these to the hospital because these are things that are fun for anybody. And even if you're in a position where maybe you can't assemble the Legos, depending on where you're at, a caregiver can sit with you and work with you through the book, show you everything. So this is something that you can still enjoy without necessarily putting it together either. So anyways, I was like, okay, this would be great. So let's look up Lego therapy. It's kind of like puzzles
Hmm.
and any kind of, I mean, we
People
talked about
find
jigsaw
puzzles.
puzzles, but there's also like people like escape rooms, things like
Oh,
that. People
yes,
like
yes.
to
Where you have to
solve.
think, you know.
Yeah, a lot of times that's kind of where I think our brains are the one time like they get totally focused on
Yes.
something else.
And
We're
they're like,
trying
oh,
to
this is
solve something.
interesting.
Right, like give us a good problem. Let's solve
Hmm.
this. And it's a fun problem. It's not
Yeah.
a
It's not
realistic one
like
like, you know,
computer science or your job actually interesting and
I
enjoyable.
so the thing is, if you have a puzzle, I think that one of the things it does is helps clear the mind and reduces
Hmm.
stress
Yes.
because you're staying focused on problem solving in that moment and all of your attention is on the puzzle. So,
Hmm.
and I know this works because one of the things that we have on our table right now is a puzzle, like a jigsaw
Hmm.
puzzle,
Oh,
because
yes, yes.
at night we all sit in there and
We
before
practice puzzles,
everyone
yeah.
goes to bed, we will work on a little bit of the puzzle just to kind of
You
make
know, let your mind
not yeah, and
relax.
I
Yeah.
need that
Yes,
because
yes.
I don't my
Her
brain
mind
does
doesn't
not
stop thinking. Yeah.
no,
She'll be asleep and she goes, last night I was thinking that.
which I know a lot of you can relate to if
Yeah.
you're listening, but it is something where I don't, my brain does not shut down. It's
Mhm.
always thinking. And so I like to
If you
do
want,
something that slows it down so
yeah,
I can go
help relax it.
to sleep, like reading. Reading
Yeah, yeah,
before
like
bed
reading. Yeah.
does help too,
If you want to know a good puzzle brand, by the way, Boardwalk Puzzles
are
is
great.
very good.
Highly recommend
They
on
have,
Amazon
yeah, the puzzle
or
pieces all
Costco.
fit together well. Yeah,
Yeah. And
Costco.
they're beautiful
They're
pictures.
beautiful pictures, and the pieces are abnormal. No, they're not like, the typical one where they have the same piece that kind of repeats
Right.
over.
They have like really
It's
interesting shapes.
really weird. And it's so cool because you're going, oh, that piece isn't going to fit over here. And that piece does fit over there. And
Yeah.
it doesn't, and it's really cool.
So we
And
highly
yeah,
recommend.
highly recommend
It's
Boardwalk
so
Puzzles and Lego.
that goes with the puzzle solving for anything kind of goes with the same thing with Lego
Hmm.
because it's kind of same so it makes sense that
Hmm.
people would turn to these and this would help be like a stress reducer.
Hmm.
And they're used Legos used in social development programs. And one of the
Interesting.
ones I was reading at Therapy Focus, they say that
It says playing Lego in a therapy setting promotes social interaction, turn-taking skills. I mean, that makes sense because when I'm putting together Legos, I say, hey, can you find this piece? Okay, find that piece, click it on. Can you
right,
find this piece? Okay, I take it, I click it on.
right,
Taking turns, finding different
which is
things. Yeah,
important.
yeah,
Taking turns is an important skill.
definitely. Not being patient, that's
Hmm.
important. Sharing, another important thing.
Hmm.
Collaborative problem solving, that's also important. Learning to collaborate and work together,
Hmm.
and learning the concepts. It can be used to target goals and social skills, languages, and motor skills. Yeah, which I can
So,
see all that.
yeah. So it targets your social skills, language, and motor skills,
Hmm.
like you said, which are all part of that social
Yes,
development program,
yes.
along with everything else you mentioned. So these are something that they're using for an actual Lego
Hmm.
therapy, the reasons why they use them. So this isn't necessarily for a child who's sick. This is
No,
just helping kids who may need help
yeah.
with their social
For
development
anyone,
skills.
basically, though.
And one of the groups that they particularly mentioned, which is interesting, is autistic children.
Hmm.
And they said that it's sometimes they find it challenging to understand what is expected of them in a social situation, particularly when it's an unstructured play activity. So this is what the therapy focus said. And so Lego based therapy provides a structured environment where everyone plays a
Because,
specific role. So you know what's
yeah,
expected of
because
you.
that makes sense. It's not like, what am I doing? It's like I
Right.
have this booklet, it's telling me what to do. So I know
And
what is
yeah.
expected.
And which is very helpful for some autistic children
Oh, cool.
to have that structure, that understanding. So it said it can help autistic children feel calm, relaxed as they're doing something they enjoy and know precisely what to expect and what is expected of them. So I thought that was interesting. I want to mention that because I was like, well, so aside from what we were talking about the therapy,
Hmm.
it's actually a real therapy
Yeah,
that
it is. It's a
is
real thing.
being used to
Yeah.
help
To
kids
help
of
people,
all
help
kinds.
anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I wanted to look up something on adults because
Lego is for everybody.
and I think that and this one came from actually the University of Arizona. They had done an article on how Lego can help adults, and this can also apply to
Get too old to
children.
be helped by Lego.
Yeah, and this can also help because it makes sense why we work in a hospital setting
Hmm.
as well. So for adults, they said, like when your work takes up a significant amount of time, you need a time where you feel less pressure and
Hmm.
when you can take a break. And for some people some of us take our work home with us, like I do. My husband does not. When he's done with work, he's done. Mine is continual. it's a different kind, it's different work. So I never feel like I have
Relaxed.
relaxed. Like
Mhm.
it's like I could be on call at any time to do something, or I could be working on my work is always very unexpected, and a lot of times you don't. Sometimes you can have some structure with it, sometimes you don't. So it's
I can
hard to
tell.
feel like you can take a break, but that feeling pressure, and I think that can relate to hospital use where it's not work, but being in the hospital does feel like you don't really have time to take a break from
Yeah,
your
yeah,
diagnosis or your problem,
from your
right?
disease, from your diagnosis,
Right.
from
And so
treatments.
that's where I think it compares. So one of their associate professors of psychology said that it's an example of reaching the critical need for relaxing. And so when you finally reach that level where whether it is something to do with being hospitalized, whether it is a very busy workload, whether it's just life, there becomes a need for us to
Relax.
relax. And
Everyone needs to relax.
there are the feel-good hormones in your brain, which are the dopamine and endorphins, and those are what are activated when you use something like Lego.
Or anything that like is problem solving and is fun.
It does.
Fun and interesting, makes you
Right.
think.
And so those are going to help you. It's like therapy, that is
Hmm.
going to help you. So she also mentioned how it's much easier to let the pressing concerns in the mind go away by
Hmm.
spending time with something like Lego. That's rewarding, but not too
Yeah.
demanding.
No.
I agree. I think that with adults, but this is for children. This can be for really anybody. I
Yeah,
think
anyone can enjoy
that
it. Another
everybody's got some
nice,
kind of
yeah,
stress.
and another thing that's nice about it is Lego requires physical work and it requires you to think about how something goes together. And so why do people enjoy that more than other things like work, you know? Well, it requires less work, it's more enjoyable. And the thing is, no one told you there's a time limit for it and you have to get it done by that certain time. You can
Unless you work for
yeah,
Lego.
unless you work for Lego, unless you work for Lego. That's your job. So
I would love to
Mhm.
ask. I mean, it'd be cool to, well,
Okay, so here's actually the really cool thing. Who thinks of the things behind Lego? Because I was building this the Ferrari F40. It's a really cool one. It's a small little one, but it's
yeah.
really cool. The side panels are on these hinges that go in, and then there's another piece that locks it in. But it's like in a weird the block that locks it in is in a weird position, and I would
Mhm.
have never thought that would have worked. But it snaps it together, and
Yeah.
it's just like who thought of that? You know?
I would love to be taken, and I'm sure there's a YouTube video on this. I'm
Oh
almost
yes.
positive we can find this. But what you're saying is cool because I would like to see the process, like who designed,
Yeah.
because they have to understand the actual vehicle to
Hmm.
design these and not just in looks. There has to be little things they understand that need
Yeah.
to be included. Are important to the
Like the
vehicle.
Concorde, I have it. The Snoop. Okay, so I know that sounds funny, but the on the real Concorde, it has. So this is the fuselage or the where the pilots sit. Then there's a part that's like a little cone, and it goes up when it's flying because it's more aerodynamic. But when it's landing and taking off, it goes down, so they have
So
better
they,
vision.
right.
And
So
so
they,
it's called a snoot droop on
yeah.
the Concorde. It was real.
But Lego
And they incorporated that on
incorporated
theirs, and
that.
it looks just like
Right.
it. And another thing is, on the very back, they have something that you turn that's part of the plane. It's not
Yeah.
like a little gear. It looks like it's part of the plane. You twist it, and there's this shaft that goes all the way through. It's all connected through all these little gears. I don't know how they did it. But then it goes
Yeah.
through the wings and makes the landing gear come down.
Yeah.
And that's just insane.
The
Like,
attention to detail is where I feel like they have to work with an
mhm.
engineer. Like
Yes, they
I
have
know they
to.
have Lego engineers, but like, do they work with an engineer from a airline company, from
Mhm.
someone who knew about the Concorde? Like how did, so it would be really interesting to see this process of creating who they work with, how they work with it. What a cool job.
Yeah, what a cool job.
And I mean, I say that,
Very
sorry guys,
smart
I
people.
know it's hard work. I
That's
know.
an insanely smart job,
Right. But I just
How do you
think
think of
like
that?
how to me at least it seems so interesting, like such an interesting job.
Oh,
So
definitely,
so
definitely.
yeah, so the whole creation, I would love to, we'll have to see if we can find a video on
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
And I'd
probably.
like to learn more about that. And we've been fortunate enough to go to Legoland and
Yes.
see that as well in person. We're fortunate to have one
One of my
close to
favorite
us.
parts about Legoland is, well, there's that Dragon roller coaster, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool. But my favorite part about it is that little city, the
Yes.
Lego cities, where you
Yeah.
walk through it and they have like the water and the ponds and they have like the real buildings and stuff that they
It's
base
really
it off
neat.
of. And what was really cool is we're going through, and I'm hearing this engine sound, and I'm going, "What's that?" So I'm looking around, and there's this car doing donuts in a parking lot, and it's a donut shop. What car is it? It's the Unicorn from Ken Block from
Yeah.
Hoonigan. Ken Block, He's, if you know who Ken Block is, very amazing man. He's very good at drifting, insane
Yeah.
drifting. He's not here anymore. Sadly, he's not with us. But it's so cool
Hmm.
because there was in an episode where his car was drifting around the donut shop. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they made the replica of that donut shop in his car and they put it in the
Yeah.
Lego
So
City.
the attention to detail again, like that's where they're like so smart
Hmm.
is
And there's interior on the
it's
donut shop too, even though
yeah.
can't really see it. It's still there.
And they have San Diego, they have
Yeah.
Old Town, they have Petco Park, they
They
have
had that Australian theater.
it's pretty cool.
It's
Like
amazing.
it's kind of like a Disney touch, I feel like, where you have the level of sure we could just build a Lego city, but
Yeah.
when they do, there are like hidden
Little things,
I want to say like hidden Mickey because I'm thinking of Disney,
Yeah, but
but
hidden
they have
details.
these hidden like Easter eggs, like little details hidden in
Hmm.
all these that you'll catch it and go, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's so
Because
clever,
half the people
so
at
clever.
Legoland aren't going to know who the heck Can Block is,
Right.
what the heck the
There's gonna be a certain
unicorn is.
percentage who's not.
Yeah.
They're gonna still think it's a cool
And they
design.
say, oh, that's a cool car that's
Right.
drifting. It looks like an old
But then
Mustang.
there's gonna be people who go,
Oh
"Oh my
my God,
gosh,
that's,
yes, yeah,
they get the reference, and that's
it's
so
pretty
cool.
cool."
The stuff
So
that counts.
yeah, so I feel like I really wanted to share a story because to me, I mean, in the sense from how Lego was important to us and the role it
Hmm.
played in Mason during his healing process, we had so many Legos we put together when you were not in remission
No,
yet,
no.
and even still now, it's still a
Yeah,
treat
it
to
is
get
still a treat. But yeah, when we got home, we actually saved this one. It was the Disney
Disney
Castle.
Castle. Yeah.
Very cool. And one of the nicest things about it, it's actually still one of the biggest Legos I have.
If you look on our Instagram, which is
Hmm.
just going to be a great transition, guys, because we're getting to the end of this
Hmm.
episode. If you head to Team IB Determined on Instagram, you will see a picture of Mason holding the Lego MRI box, and behind him is the Lego castle
Hmm.
we built. So you'll see that.
Full trip because actually the first thing we built when we got home was a Lego castle.
We're not going to assemble this here.
Yeah.
This is going to be when we get home. So that was our goal.
And so we actually, it's the first thing that we built when we got
Yeah.
home. And it's like a full circle because when we finally got home, built the castle took a few months actually. It was a
Yeah.
very big project. And then we get the MRI, take a picture in front of it, and it's like it all
Yeah.
comes around. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
So check us out. So
Yes.
with that said, because this is a great place to go ahead and just end the episode,
Mhm.
follow us if you're not, follow us on Team IB Determined on Instagram, follow the Reggie Project, and still we'd love to see some people submit your picture with Reggie. So give that a follow on there. And you guys can listen to us on any podcast station like Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and we have the link to Buzzsprout so you can find any
Yeah,
station
any
where you
station, any
listen.
podcast you want, you can
Yeah.
find it on
So,
Buzzsprout.
and if
They
you
got you.
wanted to see what
Us
we're holding
and
up, we are on YouTube.
Yeah, so if you want to see the Lego that we just held up, go to YouTube. There's also YouTube podcasts. But if you're on YouTube, why are you listening? You should be watching.
Yeah,
But,
and maybe you are.
yeah, you can listen if you want. We
Maybe
don't
you
mind.
are.
But if you want to see us, go
Yes.
ahead, watch YouTube videos. And if you are on YouTube podcasts, YouTube videos, make sure to give us a like. Make sure to subscribe, and make sure to hit that bell icon to keep updated because when you subscribe, it still doesn't notify you every time we release a video. But you should still subscribe and you should still hit the bell icon. And
Yeah.
please make sure to leave a comment. You can comment about if what Lego you have, what you want
Yeah.
to see
If Lego has
next.
helped you through some
Has Lego
difficult
helped you
times,
through anything?
let us know. Let us know you do the Lego MRI. Like
Yes.
if that would have been something that would have helped you. Like with that,
Could it help you
because
understand the MRIs?
yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll be sure to show it when it's done. We'll leave that for 2 weeks from now on our
Yes.
next episode.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, thank you guys for tuning in
Yeah.
to the start of
Make
season
sure to
4.
please leave a comment about what Pringle flavor is your favorite.
Yeah, that's very important to Mason.
Mhm.
He's he's doing a Pringle survey.
Yes.
So, yes,
Survey,
do that.
century.
And you guys have while we're filming this, at least at this time of the year, a lot of kids are heading to summer break.
Lego-rific.
Yeah, have a great summer. Get some Lego bricks and
Yes.
get to creating and have a great summer, guys. But we will see you back here in
Next
2 weeks
2 weeks, yeah.
on the next episode.
Let's go.
All right. Thanks for listening and
Thanks for listening.
watching.
Not falling asleep yet, hopefully.
Hopefully not. All
Hopefully
right,
not.
guys. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to play something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.